Sister Mary's coffee might have been blessed, but it wasn't doing nearly enough to help Zaria process the data scrolling across her bionic display. The humid air of New Atlanta clung to her skin as she stood in Zero G's main bay, reviewing the contract terms Byron Jason Hurd had sent over. Boss lady, you got the Fleet King offering you the stars, and you're acting like it's a curse, Pixel commented, projecting holographic readouts from the latest diagnostic review. Some humans would kill for that kind of opportunity. Pixel, I swear. I'm just saying, that man's offering enough credits to buy your own moon. Zaria wiped sweat from her brow. New Atlanta's artificial atmosphere kept the temperatures at a comfortable 70 degrees, but when you combine massive starships and their complicated engines, it's no wonder that the garage felt like an oven, despite the cooling systems working overtime. She'd been working for 6 hours straight on the NATC's notorious ghost ship, trying to diagnose its erratic behavior while ignoring Pixel's greedy antics. The containment field's holding at 60%, she muttered, more to change the subject than anything else. But the system fluctuations. Speaking of fluctuations, Pixel chirped, looks like both your admirers are incoming. Together. Lord have mercy. Zaria's heart did a complicated two-step. She turned to see Jaden and Raven approaching from opposite ends of the garage, their body language screaming confrontation. You can't seriously be considering Hurd's offer, Raven called out, his voice echoing off the high ceiling. The man's known for squeezing out small operators, destroying competition. What she should be considering, Jaden countered, reaching them first, is her future. NATC's offering full funding, dedicated facilities, and exclusive contracts that'll kill everything the Zero G stands for, Raven cut in. Your daddy built this place to help anyone who needed it, not just those who could afford premium rates. Both of you, stop doing that. This is my decision, not my father's. God rest his soul. Zaria hands were already bringing up the contract terms again. The numbers made her breath catch every time she looked at them. The Zero G could become something bigger, Jaden pressed. Byron's offering you a chance to work on the biggest fleet in the sector. State-of-the-art ships, unlimited resources. What about Mrs. Chen's medical transport, Raven interrupted, or the Jackson family's farming vessel? Who fixes their ships when she's locked into NATC's golden handcuffs? What good is helping everyone if you can barely keep your own lights on? Jaden's words hit close to home. Baby girl's worth more than what I'm worth, Zaria cut in. Ain't up for debate by either of you. She turned back to her workstation. And right now, I have got bigger problems. A warning alert flashed across her bionic display. The ghost ship's power fluctuations were getting worse, creating a harmonic resonance that made her engineer's heart skip a beat. Pixel, run a full spectrum analyst on. The explosion caught them off guard. A panel blew the ship's hull with devastating force. Without thinking, Zaria dove, her bionic arm moving faster than human reflexes to deflect the panel's path. The impact sent her sprawling. Both men moved to help her, but it was Raven who reached her first, his strong hands gentle as they helped her up. You okay, engineer? He asked, concern evident in his voice. I'm fine, Zaria insisted, though her arm was singing with damage reports. But this ship, there's something wrong with its core systems, these patterns. Her eyes widened as recognition hit. They're just like the modifications in your Shadowhawk, Raven. The color drained from Raven's face. That's impossible. That Shadowhawk is one of a kind. Someone lied to you, because these mods are exactly like the ones in your ship. Only these mods are driving the ship's computer insane, Zaria finished, her diagnostic programs confirming her suspicions. The AI's gone rogue, fighting its own systems. Zaria turned to Raven and looked him in the eye. You've got something you want to tell me, Captain? She asked, her eyes demanding he give her an answer. Before he could muster an answer, Raven tossed Jaden a quick glance. It was just as he thought. Jaden, for his part, could barely contain his delight at Blackwood's uncomfortable situation. Not now, Raven groaned, storming away from Zaria. Once a pirate, started Jaden, with a sarcastic smile on his face. Don't you have a bill to sign or something? Zaria angrily replied, while walking away from him. She could tell that Jaden was relishing in the Blackwood's anguish, and she found it surprising how angry that made her. Too many emotions going on right now, she thought to herself. You see why he wants you so bad, Jaden said to her as she walked away. Man's got a fleet full of ships with unstable AIs. Needs the best astro mechanic in the sector to fix his mess. That's you, Zaria. Don't turn down the greatest opportunity of your life for that dude. Jaden's words stung. It was the biggest opportunity ever. How could she pass it up? What was she thinking? Through the garage's massive windows, the New Atlanta skyline stretched toward the stars, a glittering reminder of everything the contract promised. But the weight of the decision pressed down on Zaria harder than any gravity. An hour later, after Jaden had left to make some phone calls, the ghost ship's AI had settled into a temporary stable state. Zaria found Raven alone in the observation lounge. The captain stood silhouetted against New Atlanta's glittering skyline, his shoulders tense with unspoken burdens. You gonna tell me the real story about your ship? Zaria asked, softly, closing the door behind her. About why these modifications got you looking like you've seen a ghost. Raven was quiet for a long moment, his reflection fractured in the reinforced glass. The Shadow Hawk wasn't always mine. Not legally, anyway. I figured as much. Zaria moved to stand beside him, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from his body. Jaden's been holding something over you since Titan's Hope. It was supposed to be a simple job. Raven's voice was rough with memory. Smuggling medical supply to Europa. The colonies there were dying. Couldn't afford going through the official channels. Your boy Jaden had the contacts. I had the skills. The Shadowhawk was part of my payment. But something went wrong, she interjected. Everything went wrong. Raven's laughter was bitter. Jaden double-crossed me, tipped off the authorities, took the supplies, the money, everything. I spent a year in Europa Detention Center while he walked away clean. Zaria's breath caught. A year? But how did you... Escape? Raven finally turned to face her, moonlight catching the scars that marked his face. Let's just say it wasn't my first time in those facilities. I broke out, stole back the Shadowhawk, been running ever since, taking whatever jobs keep fuel in the tanks. That's why you're so against the NATC contract, Zaria realized. You've seen what happens when you trust the wrong people with power. Power, money, control. It all corrupts eventually. Raven's eyes met hers, intense and honest. What you do here, helping people who need it regardless of their credit balance, that's rare. That's precious. And men like Hurd and Jaden, they don't understand that kind of value. Raven, Zaria started, but her words failed her. The space between them seemed to crackle with unspoken possibilities. Before she could second-guess herself, Zaria reached up, her hand cupping Raven's scarred cheek. The kiss was gentle at first, a question more than a demand. But when Raven responded, pulling her closer, it deepened into something that made her forget. The sound of the door sliding open broke them apart. Jaden stood there, data pads forgotten in his slack grip, his expression darkening like a storm cloud. Well, he said, his voice dangerously soft. Guess now I know why you're so eager to turn down the deal of a lifetime. Captain Blackwood here has been filling your head with lies. His hand drifted to the comm unit on his belt. Maybe I should make a call, let certain authorities know where to find their escaped convict. You do that? Zari stepped forward, putting herself between the two men. And I'll make sure every one of your constituents know how you handle your partnerships. Starting with Byron Jason Hurd. The tension in the room could have powered an entire fleet of starships. Finally, Jaden's hand dropped from his comm. "This ain't over," he promised, backing it toward the door. "Not by a long shot." As his footsteps faded down the corridor, Zaria let out a shaky breath. Behind her, Raven's hand found hers, squeezing gently. "You didn't have to do that," he said softly. "Yeah, I did." Zaria turned back to him, her heart racing with more than just adrenaline. "The 0G stands for something, and so do I." The kiss had complicated everything, but as she looked up into Raven's eyes, seeing the mix of vulnerability and strength there, Zaria couldn't bring herself to regret it. Sometimes the most dangerous systems weren't the ones in the ships. They were ones in the heart, and those she was learning were the hardest to repair. Just then her daddy's hologram flickered to life nearby, one of his old recordings. Before he passed away, Theodore Johnson had recorded a series of AI-powered messages that would pop up at the most interesting moments within the garage. Zaria never knew when or why. She just always understood that these messages were on time and insightful. "Remember, baby girl," his transparent form said, "sometimes the biggest temptation ain't the devil, you know, but the one wearing an angel smile." Zaria felt tears prick at her eyes. Even years after his passing, Daddy still had a way of cutting straight to the heart of things. Then suddenly her tears stopped. Her eyes widened as a memory flashed before her, and stinging realization set in. The memory hit Zaria like a plasma burst. She'd seen those patterns before, years ago, sketched in her daddy's personal tablet. Her bionic fingers twitched as the realization crystallized. "Pixel, I need you to unlock Storage Bay C," she said, already moving. "Boss lady, that's been sealed since Daddy died, I know." Zaria's boots echoed in the metal floor as she ran. "Just do it!" The storage room was exactly as they'd left it 5 years ago. Layers of dust covering the workbenches and storage units. Zaria went straight to the back wall, her bionic hand pressing against a hidden panel. The scanner read her palm print, and a small compartment slid open. Inside lay a single data tablet, its surface etched with her daddy's signature. "Oh Lord," Pixel whispered as Zaria plugged the data cord into the data ports hidden in her wrist. "Those are the other half of Daddy's original designs for the quantum harmonic engine modifications." Zaria's voice was hard as steel. "The ones that went missing that night I lost my arm." She stormed back to Repair Bay, where Jaden was still examining the ghost ship's readouts. He turned at her approach, his smile dying as he saw her expression. "Hey, look, maybe I overreacted." Her fist caught him square in the jaw, sending him stumbling back against the ship's hull. Before he could recover, she had him pinned, the servos in her artificial arm wiring with contained power. "You son of a bitch," she snarled. "You've been in their back pocket since we were dating. These modifications, they're based on Daddy's designs." "Zaria, I can explain." "Explain what? How you tricked me into helping you steal my own daddy's work? How you got me shot when the buyers realized you only had half the plans?" Her artificial arm pressed against his throat. "I lost my arm that night, Jaden. Lost a piece of my soul. I was young. I didn't know," he choked out. "I swear, I didn't know who the buyers were tied to. They just offered me a ton of credits for the plans. When they started shooting, you ran." The words tasted like ash in her mouth. "Just like you always do. Left me bleeding out while you saved your own skin. And I've regretted it every day since." There were tears in his eyes now. "When Byron reached out and said he needed you to look at these ships, I thought maybe I could figure out a way to make things right between you and me. By getting me to sign away the 0G? By helping them perfect the technology they tried to steal?" Zaria stepped back, disgust written across her face. "Get out. No, look, we don't know how NATC got those plans. Maybe they were sold to them as well. Zaria, let's think this out." "Always the politician. Get out." Her voice echoed off the bay walls. And you tell Herd that if he wants my daddy's design, he better be ready for a war. Because that's what he'll get if he comes near the Zero G again. Jaden straightened slowly, wiping blood from his split lip. You're making a mistake. Herd has already started modding his fleet. You've got to fix those ships. If what you said is true, then a lot of innocent people will be... I said get out! She screamed at the top of her lungs. Jaden stood silent for a moment. Finally, he fixed his clothes and began to leave, but not before turning to Raven, pure hatred in his eyes. I hope you're happy, pirate. Not everyone gets to suffer because of you. His footsteps faded toward the exit in their wake. Zaria's legs finally gave out, and she sank to her knees beside the ghost ship's landing gear. Tears she held back for 5 years finally broke free. A gentle hand touched her shoulder. She looked up to find Raven there, his eyes full of understanding. Your daddy's designs? He said softly. That's what they used on Shadowhawk systems? Yeah. But your ship didn't have a command AI, and your power core wasn't stable enough to handle the additional power. Had you not brought the Shadowhawk to me, it would have exploded in space from the power fluctuations. She began while standing up. These NATC ships are different. They have a very sophisticated artificial intelligence system, and without the stabilizer protocols, they're all going to end up just like the ghost ship. Zaria wiped her eyes. Because they don't have the stabilization protocols. Those were in half of those plans they never got, she stated. The half Daddy left hidden for me. Raven, stunned by the revelation, instinctively hugged Zaria. So what do we do now? He asked. Zaria looked at the ghost ship, then down at her bionic arm. Both testimonies to loss and resilience. Now, we finish what Daddy started. We figure out how to make these modifications work right before NATC's tampering gets someone killed. And Jaden, Herd is one of his biggest donors. Jaden made his choice a long time ago. Zaria flexed her mechanical fingers. It's time I made mine. She turned to face the ship, her daddy's data tablet a comforting weight in her pocket. She had work to do, wrongs to right, and a legacy to protect. And this time, she wouldn't be doing it alone.
If you enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, remember that the Zero G is more than just a garage, and Zaria and Pixel are always on the job. See you soon.